The word narcissist has been a buzzword in the last few years, and every little thing that happened, you're a narcissist, you're a narcissist, and it's usually, in most cases, the woman that would tell a man that he's a narcissist. And I can tell you this much, that I did not know that there were so many different types of narcissists, right? And it runs deep. And when I learned about the different types of narcissists, I'm like, wow, this is incredible. It's not just one type, right? So you can put your comments in the chat. And like I said, I'll be turning on the call in number, right? Right? And you guys can call in. So without further ado, let me pop this over and bring in the screen, and you guys can we can start reading, right? Give you an overview of what I discussed regarding narcissism from the last video, where I did a kind of like an overview and talk about my experience and what I've been dealing, what I've dealt with over the years growing up with a narcissistic parent. And I can tell you, you folks out there, don't think you understand what a narcissist is. So let me get into it. Let me share the screen. All right. So, like I said, I'm going to be talking about the grandiose narcissist, right? And the grandiose narcissist is one that is very out there. So let me read this, right? Narcissism can manifest in various forms, including grandiose narcissism, that's one, covert narcissism, communal narcissism, malignant narcissism, and vulnerable narcissism, right? And in the previous video, I mentioned that uh, the where I talked more about my experience. Uh, I I Let me bring this up so I can hear, so you can hear me better. So I just kind of just talk. All right. So the this goes on to say, while the DSM-5 recognize recognizes only one diagnosed for narcissistic personality disorder, right? Researchers and clinicians have identified these types to better understand the diverse presentation of narcissism. So let's look up what narcissistic personality disorder is, right? And let me open that up. All right, and scroll down. Scroll down here. The symptoms. All right. So let me expand this. All right, come over here and bring this up. All right. So, an overview. Narcissistic personality disorder is a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonable high sense of their own importance. They need and seek too much attention and want people to admire them. Right? People with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or care about the feeling of others, but behind the mask of extreme confidence, they are not sure of their self-worth and are easily upset by the slightest criticism. All right. So I won't go too further in this part. I will put the link in the description so you guys can go and read more about it. Let me copy this link and put it in the description right away so I don't forget. All right. Copy. And let me put this in the description. Paste. And save. And then I'm going to close this out. So I just wanted to read that part. Right? Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to be talking about the grandiose narcissist. Right? So I have a brief clip here, and I'm just gonna read it, and then get more into the details. So, grandiose narcissism. This type is characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. They often believe they are superior and entitled to special treatment. Right? That's the grandiose narcissist. So understand that the different types of narcissists that we're dealing with tend to appear in different forms. So when we generalize and say you're a narcissist, but we can't really specify what type of narcissist that person is. So grandiosity is one of the types of narcissism, the overt, very excited, the type of person that will go to a party and they have to be the center of attention, right? I give you a great example. Usually performers, artists are grandiose narcissists. And right now, we're in the storm of the Diddy case. And that's an example of a grandiose narcissist. Right? All right, give me a second here. All right. Let me just double check one thing. All right. So, all right, let's continue. All right, so let me go over here. All right, press on this. So, as you can see, it says, this is an AI, generated information. Okay, so let me read. 5 key habits often associated with narcissism include a strong sense of entitlement, a constant need for admiration, a lack of empathy, a tendency to exploit others, and manipulative behaviors. These behaviors stems from an inflated sense of self-importance and a desire to maintain control and admiration from others, right? And if you know anyone that gets upset when they can't have their way or they're not getting enough attention, you'll find that in relationships where the woman will act out because she wants constant word of affirmation. It's as if her happiness revolves around what the man says every day. No, don't get me wrong. A guy is supposed to tell his spouse that she is beautiful, words of affirmation, words of affection. But it goes so far as to where the constant need for them believing that they should always be getting this admiration and these affectionate words, and not just from the loved ones, or the person that they're in a relationship with, but from everybody else, and then they'll act out. So let me move this and scroll up and give you further. So let me kind of move myself out of the way. So here are more details. Here is a more detailed look at these 5 habits. Narcissists often believe they are superior to others and deserve special treatment, believing their needs should be met without question. And I can tell you, personally, I've dealt with that over and over. And if I don't comply, hands are thrown, right? Hands are thrown. I grew up in that environment, right? And I've had relationships with women that are like that, where a question will be asked, and if I don't comply with what was asked, or my answer is contrary to what they wanted me to say, or that person wanted me to agree with, oh, all hell break loose, right? So let me continue. Number 2, need for excessive admiration, right? Need for excessive admiration. They constantly seek attention, praise, and admiration, often demanding validation for their perceived achievement. Remember, someone can have a lackluster achievement where, they say number 1 is the winner, number 2 comes in second, number 3 doesn't even matter. Even if they are number 3, they want you to make them feel like they're number 1. They don't want you to tell them, like, hey, try harder, maybe next time you will get it. They were like, okay, you should have won. They stole from you. They should have given you number 1, at least number 2, but no. Number 1, you deserve number 1. And they believe it because their inflated ego make them believe that they deserve it, even if they don't have the ability to be number 1. So let's continue. Let's go to number 3, a lack of empathy. This is one of the characteristics that a lot of narcissists have. They only have empathy for their feelings, no one else. And even if you express to them why you are feeling, they could care less. So let's read what number 3 says, right? Narcissists struggle to understand and share the feeling of others, often dismissing or belittling their concerns. So if you felt a way about how someone says something to you or treat you or even want to put hands on you, and you don't comply, they don't care. They tell you it's your fault. It's your fault why they're doing this. They're very dismissive and belittling and make you wonder, what did I do? I did everything right. But for a narcissist, you did everything wrong. Right? For a grandiose narcissist, you did everything wrong. Right? Because that's the one we're talking about. So let me go to the next one. Number 4, exploitation of others. Right? So they may manipulate or take advantage of others to gain personal advantage or satisfy their needs. So remember what I said. It's all about them. They have to have this constant self-grandization where they want to be grandiose. They want to make sure that you remember and always know and keep in the forefront of your thoughts that they come first, and despite how you feel, what you want, it does not matter. All right? So let's read the next one. Number 5, manipulative behavior. Narcissists often use manipulative tactics to control others, such as gaslighting, emotional blackmail, or guilt tripping. If any of you out there have experienced number 5, you know what I'm talking about, right? Both male and female do that to each other. So let me read number 5 again. Manipulative behavior. Narcissists often use manipulative tactics to control others, such as gaslighting, emotional blackmail, or guilt tripping. Folks, listen, I said this earlier because I grew up in a very tumultuous relationship. Experiencing a parent, a mother, that displays some of these behaviors, most of these behaviors, I should say, right? Where if I tell her no, my ass is grass, right? My brown skin is battered and bruised because I said no, right? So having an understanding that these behaviors can manifest in many different ways, it is scary out there in the world for a lot of people. I'm a grown man, but imagine a child growing up in this environment. And when I was younger, it was worse because there was no real checks and balances much for parents being abusive to their children, right? And if I was to open up and tell you some stories, if I were to open up and tell you some stories, you wouldn't believe it. People who know me, know some of the things I'm talking about, right? So imagine now that a young person in an era where we have so many children that are more emotional and sensitive, and the parent have to be careful how they use their manipulative tactics. One tactic that parents tend to use to keep control over their children is that they will pin the children against each other by offering gifts and like things like cooking their favorite meal, right? Going out and buying things, buying presents, and then when the child don't give the parents their not be the parents' narcissistic supply, they take it back. I can tell you one experience where at one point in my younger days, my sister would constantly lie to my mom. Now, I am the type of person, if anybody knows me, know who I am, I like especially the kitchen and the bathroom to always be clean. I'm very particular about that. And I was the eldest child, so I had to clean the house all the time. And when I would do that, I would go off to my friend's house and I will hang out for the rest of the day. Now, when my mom gets home from work, my sister would tell my mom that she's the one who cleaned the house. And my mom would give her money. And whatever she wants, she gets. And when I come home, I get an ass whipping. Yeah. And then when my mom finds out from my other siblings that it's not true, she goes out and she buys something for me. She won't tell me she's sorry. She just goes and buys something for me. And that kept on happening. And growing up in that kind of environment, I had to become a resilient type of person where my mental fortitude became stronger. Because if I was a softie, I probably would have done something. I'm not on drugs. I don't use any substance in my body, right? Because why? I grew a mental fortitude that helped me to sustain my mentality. It's like I compartmentalize my experiences and my being out there in the world and having fun, talking, hanging with my friends, right? So having having these different types of experiences, these different type of experiences will make a person stronger. It could either make you weak or will make you strong, right? Now, because we're discussing the overt, grandiose personality, that narcissistic disorder, let's go into reading more about it. All right. So as you can see, I have it here. So let me scroll this up. All right. And I'll highlight the whole thing. Grandiose narcissism, also known as overt narcissism, is a personality trait characterized by an inflated sense of self importance, a constant need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. Individuals with this grandiose narcissism often believe they are superior to others, as mentioned before in the other piece I read. Have a sense of entitlement and seek to dominate social interactions. Someone out there that's watching this video knows exactly what I'm talking about. They have experienced, they know someone that have experienced this or they've experienced it themselves. Right? So let me move myself out of the way. The key characteristics of grandiose narcissism includes inflated self-esteem, a strong belief in their own importance and specialness. Roll up here. Next, a need for admiration, a constant craving for praise and validation from others. Next, you have to understand that these type of people that needs constant praise and validation from others, I mentioned it earlier, that you often find that in relationships, right? And celebrities, a lot of celebrities are like that, where their constant need for admirations and praise, and then they'll be mean and disrespectful to the very people that support them, right? So you'll find that in family, and you'll find that in art, and you find that in reality, right? Art is fictional, like movies, uh, sitcoms, TV shows, music, and then reality, the real world. You'll find that, right? So when you watch uh like a celebrity out, maybe some paparazzi taking pictures of them, and you see the way they are, these are the type of narcissists that are overt, grandiose, self-aggrandizing narcissists. Right? So let's continue. A lack of empathy, difficulty understanding and sharing their feelings for others. Have you ever talked to someone and says, "Hey, I'm thirsty," for instance, use it as an example, and it says, "Me too." And you said, "Okay, you're going to go in the store and you're going to buy something to drink." And you come out with some beverage, maybe a can of soda, bottle of juice or something, and you give it to them to hold it and say, "Hey, this is for us." And they open it and they start drinking from it. They don't care. That's a lack of empathy. They heard you say that you're thirsty, but because they want the beverage, the juice, the soda, the water just for themselves, they drink from it. And they say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought you gave this to me just for me." But you already said to them that, "Hey, hold this." You obviously came out of the store with one bottle, but they're like, "No, they're going to drink from it." Right? So let's continue. A a sense of entitlement, believing they deserve special treatment and privilege. I mentioned that earlier, right? So that's self-explanatory. The next one is arrogance and condescension. These are the passive aggressive types. The passive aggressive types, right? Expressing superiority towards others in a condescending manner. Like you'll say something, and the way they respond back to you is as if you're beneath them. They look down and speak down on you condescendingly. All right. So the next one is exploitative behavior. Exploitative behavior. That is someone that will try to get over on you at every chance they get, every second, because they need to be able to have a control over your thoughts, your movement, so they can use it to their advantage. So the exploitative behavior that, as it says here, taking advantage of others for personal gain. When you talk to a person and they take your personal information and share it with everybody, they're exploiting you. They're using that as a form of control. Is like telling them something, they'll tell other people, and and they'll come back to you and they'll make you think that they won't do it again, but they'll do it again. But they do it in a form where they will butter you up because they want more information so they can keep that information and use it against you. Videotape you, take pictures of you, and threaten you with it. Again, the Diddy case is a perfect example. Recording content on everybody and keeping it to potentially use it to their advantage. S, S, how you pronounce his name? Epstein is another one like that, right? So Diddy, Epstein, and there are many others out there that would exploit you once they have something to hold over on you. All right. Hostility and aggressive, hostility and aggression. Reacting with anger or aggression when challenged. This type of person, you should not, must not, or dare not to say no to, or question them if they said something wrong. These type of this particular behavior, this is a type of behavior where you'll find somebody is a habitual liar. They'll say something and you should just go along with it. Right? Let's scroll down and read more. Let me highlight it where I'm going to read. Grandiose narcissists may also be charming, manipulative, and have a strong need for controlling in relation. Sorry, let me read that again. My apologies. Come over here and do something over here. Come over here and slightly increase this over here. Okay. So grandiose narcissists may also be charming, manipulative, and have a strong need for control in relationships. They may display lavish lifestyle to impress others and often dominate conversations, focusing on their own achievements and experiences. While not a diagnosable mental health condition, grandiose narcissism is a personal trait that can significantly impact relationship and social interactions. So hence, understand this. This type of person, as mentioned before, and being redundant, imagine you doing something. Maybe you like a certain sport. Maybe you like a certain movie or something that's you, that makes you you. And you meet a narcissist like this, a grandiose, overt narcissist. What they will begin to do is mirror you, right? And they will become more expressive in mirroring you because they have to impress you. Why? Because they need to be able to dominate you, right? And they will always brag about what they did and who did this to them, and their experiences are more important than you and your experiences. And if you dare to mention your experience, they will shut you down. They will shut you down. All right, let's continue. All right, I move myself from here. Important considerations. Not a diagnosable disorder, grandiose narcissism is a personality trait and not a formal diagnosis like narcissistic personality disorder. Differentiated from vulnerable narcissism, grandiose narcissism is different from vulnerable narcissism, which is characterized by a high neuroticism and a fear of criticism. Potential for harm, the lack of empathy, entitlement, and exploitative behavior associated with grandiose narcissism can be harmful to those around them. Let me read that again. Potential for harm. Let me highlight it. Potential for harm, the lack of empathy, entitlement, and exploitative behaviors associated with this grandiose narcissism can be harmful to those around them. Right? These narcissists you have to be careful of. There are other ones, but most of them you have to be careful of. All of them you have to be careful of. Let me rephrase that. Right? So, let me read the next one. Understanding and navigating relationships. Understanding the signs of grandiose narcissism can help individuals navigate relationships with these individuals more effectively. So, with that being said, you have to understand that it's deeper when someone says you're a narcissist. It's deeper than you can imagine. It's deeper than you can imagine. I did not know. But it makes me be able to understand more of what narcissism really entails. It's just fascinating. It's almost as if it's a bit cathartic for me to be able to know that this is something I can look into and help me understand why things were so difficult for me growing up and understanding the traits that I was experiencing. You know, just to think that these different types of narcissists exist out there and that they can't really help themselves, and maybe they don't even know that that's who they are. They If someone don't really point it out, they don't really understand. It's it's a crazy world out there. So think about the different professions that are out there. The doctors, like Dr. Kevorkian, that would help people go go on to the other side and say he's helping them because they don't want them to suffer, they don't want to suffer. You have police in these professions, police with these behaviors in this profession. You can see why some of these police are so cruel. Lawyers, the criminals. Wow. And even though they do these psych tests for some of these people when you get in these professions, if these type of people with these sicknesses knows how to manipulate, they will be able to pass these psych tests with no problem. Wow. it's been a challenge in life for a lot of people.